In the vast tapestry of history that the Bible weaves, few sections are as rich and intricate as the Old Testament. These ancient texts not only guide the faith and practices of millions, but also shape the very foundations of the Judeo-Christian tradition. Today, we embark on a journey through time to explore the top 5 most pivotal figures in the Bible's Old Testament. These individuals were chosen not only for their impact on biblical history, but also for the lasting influence of their stories on our world today. Let us begin with Abraham, a name synonymous with faith and promise. Chronicled in the book of Genesis, Abraham's story is foundational to the Abrahamic faiths, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. In Genesis chapter 12, we meet Abram, as he was then called, who heeds the call of God to leave his homeland and journey to an unknown land promised to him and his descendants. This act of faith, leaving behind the familiar for the promise of something greater, sets Abraham apart as a trailblazer of belief. Beyond simply being a pivotal figure, Abraham embodies the covenant, a divine promise that through his lineage, Sahih, a great nation would emerge, forming the very root of Israel's story. Next, we turn to Moses, revered as the great prophet and lawgiver. His tale is immortalized in the books of Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Moses' story is one of liberation and divine revelation. In Exodus chapters 3 and 4, Moses encounters the burning bush, marking his transformative moment as God compels him to lead the Israelites out of Egyptian bondage. Armed with faith and divine power, Moses confronts Pharaoh, and the subsequent plagues ultimately convince the Egyptians to release the Hebrews. The dramatic crossing of the Red Sea in Exodus chapter 14 signifies not only a physical, but a spiritual passage from oppression to freedom. At Mount Sinai, it is Moses who receives the Ten Commandments, foundational laws that continue to resonate with moral authority in cultures worldwide. Our journey leads us to Joseph, a figure whose life unfurls like a gripping novel across Genesis chapters 37 through 50. The 11th son of Jacob, Joseph is adored by his father, yet envied by his brothers. Sold into slavery, he faces tribulation after tribulation. However, his story is one of perseverance and divine providence. We find Joseph rising to prominence in Egypt by interpreting Pharaoh's dreams, which predicted 7 years of plenty followed by 7 years of famine. As second in command in Egypt, Joseph orchestrates a plan that not only saves Egypt but also reconciles him with his family. Through Joseph, we see a narrative of forgiveness and divine purpose, showing how suffering and deliverance are interconnected threads in the biblical tapestry. It would be remiss not to speak of King David, whose life story is one of triumphs and tribulations. Recounted primarily in 1 Samuel and 2 Samuel. David, the young shepherd who defeats Goliath in 1 Samuel 17, symbolizes courage and faith against overwhelming odds. His reign as king marks a golden age for Israel, uniting the tribes and establishing Jerusalem as the nation's spiritual center. Yet David is also a complex, flawed man. His moral failings, most notably revolving around Bathsheba, as documented in 2 Samuel 11, showcase a human vulnerability. David's legacy is multifaceted. He is known not only for his military and political accomplishments, but also for composing many of the Psalms, profoundly influencing worship and reflection in the Judeo-Christian tradition. Lastly, we focus on Elijah, the great prophet of Israel, whose story unfolds in 1 Kings and by 2 Kings. Known for his unwavering dedication to God, Elijah emerges as a fierce opponent of the idolatry prompted by King Ahab and Queen Jezebel. In 1 Kings chapter 18, we witness one of the most dramatic showdowns in the Bible on Mount Carmel, where Elijah's faith is vindicated as fire from heaven consumes his sacrificial offering. His departure from this world is equally spectacular, as described in 2 Kings chapter 2, when Elijah is taken up to heaven in a whirlwind. Elijah's legacy endures as a symbol of prophetic zeal and divine endorsement, inspiring countless generations to uphold their faith in the face of adversity. These five figures, Abraham, Moses, Joseph, David, and Elijah, each illuminate different facets of the human experience through their faith, leadership, struggles, and triumphs. Their stories are intertwined with divine purpose and enduring lessons, illustrating the complexity and depth of the Old Testament narrative. As we reflect on their legacies, we recognize not only their historical significance, but also the timeless moral and spiritual truths they impart. Through them, the Old Testament continues to speak to the soul, shaping both personal faith journeys and the broader tapestry of human history.